Slaptail Squad, assemble.
Greetings, members of our Slaptail Nation family. This is the Slaptail Squad, and I am the Beaveman. And with me today, well, not really, he's remote,
I'm remote. The remote
is
Ronz.
the Ronz.
The remote Ronz.
The remote Ronz.
Yeah, I like that name, the remote Ronz. And before
we were actually podcasting yesterday when there was like a freaking blizzard on the ground, or lots of accumulation of snow. It's not so bad out today.
Yeah, it was a little bit more somber. It really was. So I want you to say this before we start, John, Beeve, whoever you want to be today.
Beaveman, same as what I always am and have been for nearly 2 years of podcasting.
I want you to say, because I know this gets a big laugh from one of our major fans, quit fucking it up, Ron. Could you just say that for me?
I feel like I'm going to be saying that throughout the podcast. Is it necessary for me to say it right away?
Well, yeah.
It's a preemptive strike then. Quit fucking it up, Ron.
There we go. Because what was funny during the last podcast I posted, and I asked for feedback. My wife, who listens to this at work, a big shout out to her, said she had to cover her mouth because it was so funny at the end of it when you said, "This is where you guys even fucked up the ending." She says, it was just so hilarious.
Now, let me ask you a question. On your side, on your end, do you see waveforms where you're talking in your box?
I do actually. I see waveforms and waveforms on your bar as well.
Okay, I don't see anything on yours on my end.
All right.
I'm sure it's fine.
I hope so, or it's going to sound like you're having a one-sided conversation.
Well, if you're doing it on your end, then we're good. We should be fine. If you can see the waveforms on your end, we should be fine. Because it's going to download to the cloud, and I'll pull it off the cloud. Because you're actually recording in your computer anyway.
Oh, I am?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Relatively speaking. The file is on your end.
Cool. And for those who want to try to join us in the future, there is a way. It's a more complicated way, but I'll work out the details on that one. Because according to the Beaveman, we should have a more simplistic way if we're going to have multiple guests on the podcast. And I agree with that. Not everybody's as tech savvy as some of us out there. We forgive you. That's the way it's going to be.
I'm just hoping that this is all going to end. Obviously, it will. Hopefully, it'll end, and then we'll be able to do our podcast in person and be able to invite guests, even if they're remote or in person, also. So that's the dream.
Oh no, I agree. In fact, I also miss Sammy too.
Sammy's my dog. Yeah. That's not the name of my penis. So nobody started thinking that way.
No one even went there until you did, right? I miss the dog, right? Because you have the best, mellowest dog I've ever met.
She's pretty mellow. She's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Are you watching a lot of TV now that you're
actually I
social distancing at home, etc.?
Yes, actually I am, to a point, right? And I say to a point because before everything kind of all blurs together after a while. I'm playing video games. I'm playing a game called Poe, Path of Exile, a free download. It's a really cool game. It's like Diablo 3, which I play too. Play that with a bunch of friends. And I belong to a gaming clan, actually 2 gaming clans. One's called the Moo Clan, which I belong to for 20 some odd years now. We play Quake 2 Chaos mod. That's making a resurgence. That's an FPS or first-person shooter game. D3 or Diablo 3 and Path of Exile Poe is basically a role-playing game or RPG game, Dungeons and Dragons, multi-MMO, multi-player user online. I forgot what MMO means anymore.
Yeah. Do you play Dungeons and Dragons also?
I used to play a lot. When I was in the military, I kind of got away from it. I have all the dice. I have a shit ton of books somewhere on it. But yeah, I used to enjoy playing that every weekend.
I'm amazed at how many people play that.
Yeah, especially with the Christian conservative groups going, it's evil and the devil.
Well, actually, I guess I shouldn't be amazed at the amount of people that play that. I think that maybe it's just the group of people that I associate with. If I associated with a different group of people, I imagine they would not be playing those games.
How so?
Well, I think I said this before. Our one of our hobbies seems to be that nerds gravitate to that hobby.
Oh, okay, yeah, I can understand that part.
Now, there's nothing wrong with that because to me, it's not a. It is a nerd hobby, I guess you would say, but um, I can't think of too many people that don't have an interest in doing that. They just never take the step to do it, and the nerds seem to be the ones that do.
Okay, okay, yeah, you've got to find a group, or a group has to present itself to you, and then you go out and check it out. You and play, right? It's about critical thinking, fantasy thinking, statistics, mathematics. The way it breaks down to that is just that. But when you overlook that, it's a fun time. It really is. It's like you're rolling dice to see if one character survives an attack uh, from another creature or character, and you've got some guy to moderate it. So it's a lot of fun.
I was just checking. I think that a lot of the people that I know on a friendship type basis play that game.
What's your
Just curious.
what's your best story from playing that?
I didn't play it.
Oh, you didn't play D&D or
No,
RPGs?
I played like I played for a little while in middle school, but that's it. I don't
Oh,
remember anything. I don't remember anything about it.
oh, so you didn't play it as an adult?
No, of course not.
Wow, I thought you did,
No.
because I know some of our associates that from the dojo play.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I think that it's just the main. It's the type of people that you interact with. For example, if I was asking people that work where I work, probably my guess would be none of them do that.
Yeah, you really don't want to roll dice and say, "Well, do you survive this COVID or not? Let's roll the dice." Oh, that's a 15. You needed a 20.
Yeah, and I don't even understand what that means. So
I think the best story I had when I was trying to do what's called Dungeon Master or Game Master, GM or DM, and I had a group at my house, and we're all military, and Carrie and I and a few friends were playing, and there was this attack, and Carrie played, I think it was a ranger or an archer, and a friend of mine says, "Okay, the scenario was they get attacked in the woods, if I remember right, by a bunch of orcs or creatures." And a friend of mine says, "I cast chain lightning." Well, science comes in. If you're going to cast some sort of lightning spell, or there's going to be a lightning strike, it's going to bounce over around all the wood and everything. I said, "Well, you're in a wooded area. Let's see what happens." And uh, the ranger or the elf says, "I feign death. In the middle of attack, you fake your own death." And I'm like, that's not conducive to having your party survive. And I thought that was hilarious. But
uh, yeah,
yeah,
I mean, I guess you have to be. I guess you
yeah,
have to be. I know that I was personally on the edge of my seat while you were telling this story.
yeah. But
I was
go ahead.
I was following your every single word. I really was.
So,
Which brings me back to TV. I was just
back
talking
to
about like
TV.
what might be a waste of time. I seem to be wasting a lot of time watching television.
Okay, what are you watching?
But my alternatives are kind of boring. Which,
No.
well, one of them's not, but the alternatives are.
Well, what are they?
Well, I could be reading, which if I read, it's going to gravitate towards reading comics or reading something interesting.
Oh, comics aren't bad.
But what I should be reading is I should be, reading medical crap, which is very boring. I can read that for I don't know, maybe 15 minutes before I feel like taking a nap.
Well, I think you mentioned before that you want to stay up on top of the medical field that you're in. So
Well, of
I
course, yeah,
understand.
you have to. You
Yeah,
have to,
I
or
understand that.
that would be not very good for not conducive to taking care of people because stuff changes all the time, which is obnoxious. Something that's a treatment now might not be a treatment a year from now.
Okay, that's understandable.
But
What?
no, I would much rather. What I'm saying is, I'd much rather watch TV.
Hmm, let's
It
see.
makes me kind of brain dead. I feel like I'm getting as I get older, I've regressed even more. I'm like, you know what? I'd rather just watch TV. I'll read a good comic book for sure. I mean, if I start reading, I have the app. I have the DC app.
Hmm.
So it doesn't give you every comic that's ever written, but it'll give you like a series. What they do that is kind of annoying, they'll say, "Oh, we've got this series," and you'll read it, and then it'll skip 10 issues. I fucking hate that.
Okay, so I have a question on that. What do you think about the comic book universe going to digital media and possibly eliminating subscription issues, paper?
I don't know because I don't like to really read on a device. Reading comics on a device is much better than reading a comic in a comic because you could do it pane by pane or panel
Hmm.
by panel, which is really cool, and you can see some really good detail. But I understand why people want comics. It's just that, yeah, like you have to worry about the environment. Are we producing too much shit? And God, it's not like we don't have a billion different comic series out there.
That's true too. I mean, you got DC, and then you got the Vertigo and the Elseworld series. Then you got Marvel and What If,
Yeah, what about
and
like was it Black Horse comics, all the other indie comics, all the underground comics?
well, I kind of like the underground comics. That's where Todd McFarlane started with, I think, his Image, when he started Image, and I kind of like that, the underground comics. I really, really do, because they're more, they're willing to jump out on a ledge and address issues, talk about issues, or basically take horror and comic book issues in a whole new way, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. So I kind of like that.
Yeah, I really haven't read too much of that stuff. But so what we're gonna do today, usually my
Today,
transition. What we're gonna do today is it was
that's
kind of
right.
hard because I didn't know where you're watching TV. Apparently, you don't have Netflix.
Mhm. But I've got a
Uh,
friend who let me borrow his account. All right.
no, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, you went over to their house. They watched you watched it with them, and it was all nice and legal like. It was all nice and legal like.
Yes, it was all nice
Oh,
and legal.
you picked this show.
Well, it's because it was recommended to me and I gave it a shot.
What kind of person recommended you this show?
Uh, a buddy of mine that I work closely in the computer field and the volunteering field with.
I think you have to be really careful about recommending this show to people.
Why? Why is that?
Well, don't you have to like? I think you have to kind of know the person a little bit to recommend it.
Mm, you have to be more of an adult orientated mentality if that's what you're
Well,
getting
even
at.
that. So we're going to talk about Paradise PD today. Just going to talk about
That's
the
right.
pilot. We're just talking about the pilot episode a little bit. If I was going to describe Paradise PD to someone, or if I was going to look at the type of person that might enjoy this, I would say to them, if you enjoyed South Park, but you you might like it. It's way worse. Or I would say, if you enjoyed Seinfeld, but you hate South Park, you're probably not going to like this show.
It was basically, it kind of reminded me of Brickleberry. And if you've ever seen Brickleberry on Comedy Central, that's where it comes from, right? To a
Yeah, it's the
point.
same writers, right?
Same writers, right? And
Same writers,
same of the many voice actors too, right?
right? So Paradise PD is a show that the Ronz and I have both watched. I've watched both seasons also.
I haven't
Um,
seen season 2 yet. I've gotten to almost the end of season 1, right?
I saw, if you watch the show within the first, I don't know, maybe 3 minutes, 4 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
you're either going to watch the show or you're going to turn it off. I think
That's safe to
because
assume.
it's got some good shock value to it,
Oh,
and
I
it
agree
has
with that.
definitely inappropriate humor. And the synopsis of it is basically this: it's some small town cops. It's a small town police department. The town is full of a bunch of freaking morons, basically, and
And they're on a
you've
budget.
got and they're on a budget. They don't have any freaking money. Their badge or their patch for their uniform looks like a puckered asshole.
And that's actually explained later in one of the episodes
Right.
why
That
it
is
is.
explained later on. That is explained later on. So if you're interested in the show, you have to watch all the way through to get the explanation of the puckered asshole.
Now, what's
Um,
really cool about that, they take a cue from The Simpsons, and if you watch the opening credits, there's they got a couple of standard opening credits, um, opening montages, but there's actually a couple where they're actually different.
Yeah, they change positions when they have their final picture where it shows them all.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's different. Yeah. But they won't see that if they're just looking at the pilot.
No, they won't. No, not at all. I mean, the opening, the pilot itself, when I first started watching that, I thought, wow, there is a lot of graphic nudity.
There's a lot of graphic, just straight up disgusting shit in this show.
The blood,
I think
the nudity, right?
blood, the nudity,
It's almost
the
like,
sex with the insane amount of dog sex.
yeah, yeah,
That was extremely crazy.
yeah, especially the spitting chihuahua. I thought that was
Right, that was.
that was.
I wonder how many people are actually going to understand that.
I thought that was hilarious.
I'm dying laughing because I get it. And I was like, okay, I get it, but that's pretty bad. So Paradise PD is this small town police department with a cast of characters. The characters are a little bit fucked up, to say the least.
Oh, to say the least. I
So you
sort
got
of.
the chief. You got the chief, who is a complete moron. What's interesting about him is
I don't think he's a complete moron. What I think is he's trying to hold it together, and every time he does, somehow nothing's going to go his way. So he has to compensate by doing something. He's not a complete fuck up. He's just a no. Everybody's got their own agenda. It's sort of like the woman cop, right? They're all part of a team, but each one has their own agenda. The woman cop.
yeah. Can I explain the Can I explain the characters before you go off on a tangent, or do you want me not to explain the characters?
Oh, you want to do it like that? Okay, I see how it goes.
I just
Go
wanted
ahead.
to explain the characters, and we can go from there.
Okay.
So, did you know that the voice of the chief there is the same guy who voiced SpongeBob SquarePants?
Tom Kenny.
Yeah,
No, I didn't know
comedian.
that.
He's got a lot. I think voice actors are pretty freaking versatile, man. I get amazed at how many different voices they can do. It's pretty awesome. Wish I could do that. My only voice is Stuffy. That's my voice.
Well, you could be like Yardley Smith, who does the voice of Lisa, and that's the only voice she does. I'm pretty sure she's done a few other voices, but that's mainly the
No,
one
she
voice.
does a lot of. She does. I think she does Harley Quinn.
No, Harley Quinn is not done by Yardley Smith. That is done by Kelly Coco.
Well, I know the girl. I know the lady who plays Lisa does a lot of different voices because she was on a podcast with Mark Maron talking about all the different voices she does.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't. I was unfamiliar with that.
Yeah, so she does a lot of voices. Just the one that she's done the longest is, of course, obviously, Lisa.
Yeah, well, yeah, she does a few like Grandma Flanders, this Lisa Simpson, a few others. But as far as her voiceover work, it's just mainly with the Simpsons.
Right. And you would think that she'd be a bajillionaire for that.
Not a lot of these. Yeah, that's. I'm not going to go into the entire concept behind what I think is
No,
going
what
on
I
there.
said was you'd think that she was. That's what I said.
No,
Not saying that. Not that I'm saying that she is. I'm saying that you'd think that she would be a freaking billionaire because she's been doing the same gig for what 30 plus years.
Premiered in 1989. It's still going through 2020. Yeah, and she's got a couple of different things in the works. But I agree, right? But it's job security. You show up, you do a voiceover, go home. I'm pretty sure it's more than that, though.
I'm sure she gets paid quite a lot. It's just who knows after you pay for your what do you call it, your agent, all the other bullshit and stuff. I'm sure she makes a shitload. But what I found amazing was when she was on the show, she was saying, actually, you know what? I don't think it was her that was on the show. It might have been the girl who does Bart. I don't know. One of them was on the show. Who knows? But they were saying they still work and do other things. I'm like, why? Why would you do other things? What's the point? Are you bored?
Well, when you look at some of the stuff that a lot of these voiceover actors do, they're in demand. They really are. And plus, a lot of your movies, a lot of your shows, TVs, you don't know if they're going to end today or in 10 years, right? Sometimes you got a good run, sometimes you don't. Look at MASH, one of the longest TV running series at the time, right? In my generation, ended after 11 years. And it was based on the Korean War, which only lasted so many years. Not Bonanza, but Gunsmoke ran for 20, I think. right? Simpsons have run for in excess of 20. So when you get into all these shows, they may last, they may not last, and hopefully you get something that lasts, that carries you over. So you're always looking for that next job on the horizon. Nothing is ever guaranteed, especially in this time and age, what we're going through in the world right now, right? Think about all these talk show hosts, all these comedians, especially you and me, when we get out and we do social distancing. Our job is to interact with people. Now, you're in a field where you have to interact, but me, I don't interact with people right now because I don't have the opportunity to. So,
It's amazing what a segue this took off.
yeah, it is. I love
Just talking about
segues.
Tim Kenny. But anyway, yeah, it was Yeardley Smith who was on Mark Maron's show.
Okay, I'll check it out.
And she has her own podcast, so I must well plug her podcast. It's called Small Town Dicks,
Oh,
which is
she
a
does.
very clever name. And of course, if I'm going to mention Mark Maron, let's mention Mark Maron's podcast, which is WTF, which we all know stands for Will Trade Food.
I like
I think
that.
that's
Well,
what it
trade
stands
food.
for.
So we
The
will.
rest is will trade food. ... All right. So the what's funny about the dad, I think, the chief, is that his son shot his nuts off at very early, really early first few minutes of the show. They're talking about how his son Kevin is a kid. Did you notice when Kevin was doing his rolls and stuff like that, and he was shooting his dart gun? Did you notice that the people he was shooting on the wall, like
Yeah,
one was like a neo-Nazi,
I
one was
saw
like
that.
black, and one I don't remember what the other one was, but I was like, okay, that's they just went right. Like, let's just go right. Let's just go for for racism right away and show that on there.
Well, I love it when he wants to be like his dad, and then you see him talking to the stuffed animal,
Oh yeah,
and
he's
he's
shoving the stuffed animal up against the wall. He's like, "Fuck,
and
you fucking move."
or I'll put my foot so far up your ass you'll shit shoelaces for a week. I thought that was an hilarious line.
That was good. I
I
enjoyed that.
love that. And I
Well,
always
we might as
thought,
well talk about Kevin then. So Kevin is the this guy's supposed to be 18, wants to be a cop like his dad, even though he shot his dad's nuts off,
yep,
and clearly didn't he got his mom's genetics and not his dad's, as he's very tiny,
mm-hmm.
and he wants to wear the puckered asshole patch, but he seems to have some sort of a brain in his head, just not very skilled, which again makes you think like oh, so
Well,
you can just appoint someone to be a deputy as opposed to sending them to school, which is a great
so
idea.
let's take it back to the beginning issue, right, where he's gonna roll out of the room and he wants to be like his dad, right? First of all, any you're right about his dad being somewhat of a moron. Any police officer usually comes home and puts their weapon away in a lockbox so their kids can't get at it.
Well, we would hope.
We would hope. So I don't see how the dad can blame the kid for taking the weapon and being like him and shooting him, right? Because
Well, I think it's pretty easy for him to blame him if he shot his nut off. I mean,
you mean
but
both of
yes,
them.
I see exactly what you're saying. But yeah, it's kind of hard not to place blame when your testicles are gone, I guess.
Well, you're married just like I am to a point, so we understand that.
We're married to a point. No, I think we're married.
Okay. I was going to try and keep that kind of a secret because everybody knows I'm married, but no one knows that you're married. Or if they do, they don't care.
Yeah, I don't know why that would. I don't know who cares.
Okay.
Did you know what Kevin's middle name is, by the way?
Uh, Jesus, no, I don't.
I don't know if they mentioned it in the episode, but his middle name is Pube Salad.
Really?
Yeah.
I might have glossed over that.
Well, they've got some pretty funny names, pretty funny characters on there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. What else we got? The major appeal for me originally was seeing that Sarah Chalk is on the show. And you might remember Sarah Chalk from Scrubs. She plays Elliot.
Oh, and what else did she play in? Okay, you don't know that.
She was on Roseanne.
Yeah, she was.
She was the replacement Becky on Roseanne.
And she's also in Rick and Morty as Beth.
Yeah. I've never seen Rick and Morty.
Dude, maybe we should watch that. Rick and Morty is a great show. Right.
And her character is a psychotic, violent police officer who often sexually harasses her obese coworker, Dusty Marlowe. She
who
has a fat fetish.
she does, played by Dana Snyder, who actually does a lot of Adult Swim voiceovers. He does Master Shake. I guess he's also in Ballmasters 9009. You're pretty. He's also in Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell. Have you seen that series?
I have not, but you've seen it.
Yeah, Pretty Faces. Your
Oh
Pretty
no,
Face.
I have seen one episode. It's funny that you mentioned that. You know who's in that?
Who?
One of the members of my favorite podcast,
Oh, really? Who's that?
Henry Zabrowski.
Okay, Henry
Yeah,
Zabrowski.
he
Okay.
plays the short demon with the crooked horn, like pointing down. He's got blonde hair. But yeah, that's him.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he plays Gary.
So he's in that show.
Yeah, I love that. It's basically The Office meets Hell. I really
It's,
do like it. If you
no,
go,
what did you see? One of the funny things though, if you get arrested by this chick though, she's got a club, she's got a baton, and it has color coding on it.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. To see how far it's going to go up your ass.
See how far? Yeah, exactly. Depending on, I guess it's depending on how bad your offense is, depends on what color you're going to get to. So
Hmm.
she can shove it up your ass.
Yeah, and I love I love her violent tendencies because it kind of reminds me of that. Once again, going back to what was it? Uh, Amiradote, right? Enter the Dojo.
Hmm.
About in the beginning, it had the awesome cast before they pared it down. But you watched it. A few of us have watched it, and it had that one character that was the man hater. Do you remember that character?
No, because I haven't watched Under the Dojo for years, so I can't even remember the last time I saw an episode of that. I stopped watching that probably when there was just usually just him and the tall like green belt or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That was like the majority of the episodes, so I stopped watching it a long time ago.
I think her name was Rachel, but she was basically the man. The issues with men. I thought she was so fantastic the way she did things. It's like because she looked at her angle on the camera was she was always looking down her nose with her nostrils pointed at the camera, and her eyes were kind of rolled back like that psychotic person that you've dealt with that thinks they know everything or they have a lot of issues.
Hmm.
That's the way I always thought. I thought her character was always fantastic. I miss that show.
What's your favorite character on this show?
On Paradise PD,
Yeah.
geez, who would it be? I don't know. I'm torn between what Hobo Cop, because I just like how he just comes up and he manages not to get himself killed.
Oh,
So
and he has a clever name. He has
yeah,
a clever name. It's Hobocop.
and I when I'm watching it, I see the dog. Uh, was it what's his
Oh yeah,
name?
the dog is named Bullet,
Bullet.
and he's
Uh,
addicted to drugs.
they got the two redneck characters, which I really do like. Right, the characters are actually really cool. I don't have a favorite. Kind of like that one character. He's a background character, and he just mumbles when he's with uh, one of the other characters, and he's like, yeah, the way he speaks and the way his eyes are cross-eyed. Like,
Oh, you're talking about Delbert.
yeah, I think that's his name, Delbert.
He got like a mullet.
Is he the one I'm thinking of? Where who wears the hats called tits?
That's um, that's Robbie.
Yeah, Robbie. Yeah, that's Waco Gwen's character. So it would be the other one, Roger Black. Then I guess is who I'm thinking of. But he's got that monotone, right? He doesn't scream. He just kind of says, okay, he says what he thinks he needs to say, and that's it.
Yeah.
And it's always an add-in to what he likes, right, or what he backs up. And later in the episodes, as you watch further in, he says some pretty outrageous shit, like when Kevin wants to go to a real police officer school, so he goes to this knockoff one which they're running.
Right.
Got and they got Brandon Fraser supposedly there with them.
So if you had to describe this show to somebody to try to get them to watch it, how would you describe it?
More, basically American Dad cross.
Oh,
Uh,
what if they've never seen that?
okay,
How would you describe it to somebody who's never seen these shows that you're about to say? What would you give them as the rundown of this show?
well, if you've seen Reno 911, it's the cartoon version sometimes of Reno 911.
Again, though,
That's
that's saying another show. You're comparing another show to this show.
so
How would you
okay.
describe this show? If you said, "Hey, I want you to see this show," how would you describe it?
Uh, inept police force meets animation with a couple of smart people thrown in here and there.
Okay.
If you wanted to be summarizing it, that's about it. I mean, go ahead.
No, I'm just that's yes and no. I guess I wouldn't say to my parents, "Hey, this is what the show's about. Go ahead and watch it."
Well, having friends in law enforcement, what would I'm trying to
What does
say,
that have to do with anything?
well, no, no, no. It's like I'm trying to say, okay, how can I relate this to somebody who would watch it, right? So I've got friends who were law enforcement. I would say, hey, it's a cop show, animated cop show about a really stupid police force, right? And they would go, oh, I can understand that. Now, to the average person, it's about a cop. It's a cop show or a police force that's kind of stupid. They wear a butthole for a patch. They're like, huh? What are you describing? And then I would say you have to watch it to understand it. It's got a lot of drug culture related humor in there. The dog talks. Oh, you mean like Family Guy? Uh, I guess so. Maybe it's like Family Guy on steroids if you've seen it. But if you've never seen it, you don't get the references. If you're not part of the police culture, right, the law enforcement culture, you won't get a lot of the humor. If you're not,
Really? You think that you have to be a part of the police culture to understand and enjoy the show?
no, but there's sometimes a lot of the humor you won't get
Like
in
what?
some ways, right? Like, why can't we afford bullets? Because we blew our budget. All right. So everybody who's ever been in law enforcement, right, knows that you have a budget, right? And
Well,
how do you,
everybody who's an adult knows that you have a budget.
yeah, right. And then you've got, you know, corrupt cops. You've got good cops. You've got drugs dealing with that. So there's that law enforcement background that you can, if you've got friends in law enforcement that can say, oh, yeah, okay, we've dealt with stuff like that before versus the average person who hasn't. Anybody who's watched Family Guy, if you've ever watched it, they're like, oh, it's just another show on steroids. The dog talks and does drugs. Instead of marijuana, he's upped it to cocaine and PCP and Argyle meth. Oh, okay.
Okay. Well, I mean I see sort of what your point is, but I don't think that you have to have some sort of friends or be in law enforcement to understand
No,
the
no, no.
show.
I
There's no
didn't say that.
references. No, you did. You said people. I know people in law enforcement, and this is they would gravitate to. I'm like, not
Yeah,
really. I mean, you're saying that regular people can't watch the show because they don't
I'm not
understand
saying that at
police. And
all. I'm not
that's
saying
what.
that at
But
all.
that's what it sounds like. You want me to play it back to you to see what you said exactly?
I'm pretty sure it's going to be held against me in a court of law. So,
No. I mean, I guess if I was going to explain it, I would just say one thing. Here's the caveat: even if people don't watch, if they haven't watched like the same shows I've watched, I'm like, what type of shows do you like to watch? Would probably be the first thing I would say. Obviously, if these people are our friends, you got some sort of an idea of what their humor is, but there are people that have different personas that you see and what they actually are.
and that's what actually I'm going for right there. I guess in a roundabout way, you've managed to sum up what I was trying to say. Right. So I agree with that.
So, in other words, if I was with somebody that I knew pretty well, I'd say, "Hey, I started watching this show. I don't know if you would like it or not, but let me slightly explain it to you just a little bit. It's super fucking raunchy. You can't watch it with children. It's extremely explicit. It's about a bunch of dumb fucking cops in a town riddled with crime. There's a bunch of sex, talk, sex scenery, drug scenery, and a bunch of stuff that's completely off the fucking wall. And I don't know, you're either going to like it or you might be extremely offended that I even suggested that you might watch the show."
So yeah. I guess in a roundabout way, that's where I was going. You once again, you managed to sum it up real nicely. I
Well, there's a really funny scene where they're sitting there in the room, and I don't know what you call that, where they're doing their briefing, probably like
hmm
a briefing room. I don't know, where they do their morning report,
yeah.
and they're talking about the one guy they've got a character. His name is Hobson, and
hmm
Hobson grosses me out more than any other character.
The old guy
The old guy. So this old guy who's uh,
who's
very
openly
sexually
gay.
disgusting. He was openly gay, but disgusting. He's a very yeah. He talks about blowing people and swallowing and all kinds of just nasty stuff
Yep.
all the time. But he's talking about he's like I pulled a guy. He's like I pulled a person over last week, and he's sitting right next. Sitting right next to this guy named Gerald Fitzgerald or Fitz, who's the black cop on the force.
Yeah.
And he's like, and the cop looks at him and goes, twice last week. And then they cut and they show the scene where Hobson's behind Fitzgerald. They're both in cop cars.
Yeah.
Like, so that's these shows. That's why I think that it's one of those things where you have to ask people, what is your level of humor? Because I see a lot of people watching this show that would be like offended and butthurt, but they're missing the point. In other words, to me, it's more like they're saying, we're going to tackle these issues head on in a funny way without any personal agenda about being political.
Well, I think that's where humor should go sometimes. Lenny Bruce was a big part of that, right? By the way, the colored guy got pulled over 3 times that week. Third time this
Oh, was
week.
it 3 times that
Yeah,
week?
third time. Right. And I hate using the word colored guy because they use that term too. But Lenny Bruce broke that ground because when you look at some of his stuff, earlier stuff about what they back then deemed offensive humor, right? It was groundbreaking. You look at George Carlin the same way. You look at him on Laugh-In, and some of his stuff was just really, really clean. And then it borderline on the Weatherman. I think it was the Hippy Dippy Weatherman that he did. And if you go back and watch it and laugh in and watch those bits, you could see where it borderlined. And then he just went from being clean to borderline to where he flipped over and he did his current routine up until he died, which of course I think everybody loved. And it was because the humor was needed, in my opinion. Right. Once again, I say my opinion because it was just so wild. Then we've got these comedians who come along the way who take it that one step further. Like I remember growing up, it was Andrew Dice Clay who would overstep those boundaries of what they thought was sensible and clean or adult humor. And he stepped over the line, according to some, and to others, it was just great. Then you got Eddie Murphy, who did Raw, which was fantastic. And I remember watching Milton Berle in a interview. He says Eddie Murphy didn't need, if I remember correctly, didn't need all that humor or all that swearing and everything, but it made it much more relatable. Then you look at Sam Kinison, who was a preacher, right? And I forget what denomination, but he came out, and you would never guess that this guy was a preacher. He came out, he was probably one of the raunchiest guys out there who would scream at people, scream into the mic, right? Like Don Rickles, who was venomous, right? But it was needed. And I think that's where the humor, if you're going to get butt hurt, turn it off, right? There are two settings to your world. You can turn it on or turn it off. And if you don't turn it off and you get offended, that's your fault. That's nobody else's fault. You can, the minute you find a dirty joke that you don't like or something that offends you, walk away from it.
I don't even remember what question I asked you anymore. Did I ask a question? Because I don't remember.
Oh,
Did I
okay,
ask
sure.
anything? Did I ask
Yeah.
anything? Like, did I ask something? I don't remember. Did I ask anything?
Something about butthurt humor or something anal sex related. I don't know.
I think that maybe that's why they released this directly to Netflix.
Well,
I
Netflix
mean,
has this great platform. If you've watched a lot of their shows, like The Punisher, you'd never see that on mainstream TV. Daredevil, right? You would never see that on mainstream TV.
well,
Which
Netflix is awesome because you can produce a show and then sell it to Netflix, which is pretty cool.
they did Matt Groening's Disenchanted, which was fantastic.
Yeah, I like that one. It's not. I'm waiting. I'm hoping another season pops up.
Yeah, I want to see how that ended because I really did. The ending tripped me up. I thought I knew
Yeah,
the ending, and I did not know the ending. Right? But here's a little tie into Matt Groening's other show, Futurama.
yeah,
There,
that's what we want to do. tie it into another show. So please continue.
Yeah. Mac, there's a scene where they've got the crystal orb or something or that, and there are scenes flashing through. And if you slow it down just right at the right moment, it shows Fry, the professor, in a time machine flying through time. Right? So there's a tie-in somewhere along the lines. So I really do like that.
Oh, you do. You like that? What are the, you like to have those that stuff to pop up so that you know stuff is related in some way?
Yeah, sometimes I like to know if there's hidden references sometimes or something that, once again, going with the young ones, right? When they do little flash things or the background character, right? I want to keep people coming back and looking at the show, really, right? I want to make it that much more interesting. Okay, you saw it once. What did you miss? Go back and see it. Stan Lee had that great idea, right? He said he would only, if I remember correctly, he would only star in movies about characters he created, right? So when he was in Venom or he was in a few others, right, he helped create these characters. He would appear in it, and there's a couple, and it also had to do with his schedule too. But there were a couple of shows that didn't have him in it as background characters, and he says it made you want to go back and rewatch the show if you overlooked me. And I thought that was a great idea. And Futurama is full of that. I'm watching uh, the Paradise PD to see if there's anything I've missed sometimes in the background, right? Because I caught the opening intro and I'm like, wow, the opening intro is different. And it reminds me of The Simpsons. There's something, The Simpsons has a couple of different opening intros. They've got the couch gag and then they've got the chalkboard gag. And American Dad is the same way too with the alien in the car. But if you watch the background in the opening credits, right, you notice that Toshi, Snot, and Barry are looking in a window in a store. I want to say it's an adult store, but it goes by so fast you don't see it or you don't recognize it. So I like stuff like that's hidden, right? That you go back and you go, oh, I missed that, or hey, I caught that. Did anybody else catch it? I like storylines like that. Doesn't necessarily have to tie into the storyline. It's an interesting caveat, as you would say.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
What is that? What the I don't know what the definition of stuff is. Is that what you're talking about? Is those like the Easter eggs that people call them? Is that what they say?
Yeah, yeah. Some are Easter eggs. Some are Easter eggs. Right. It's sort of like when you watch the background of certain shows, and it's like, um, here's one for a local one. Do you ever watch a local channel, 8, WOOD TV? I think is it's called Channel 8 in the morning.
No,
All right.
no.
So when they put up the traffic report, it's really cool because they do an overlay of the area, and it looks like a poop emoji. And I'm like, no way did I see that. Now, I know the city planners, whoever designed that, didn't plan it for that. But I happen to have a stuffed poop emoji that my son got for some reason. And I thought, no way does it look like that. So I brung it out, placed it in front of the screen, and damn if it's not that. So every time you're stuck up in Grand Rapids where you are and stuck in traffic, it's shit. So we know why. So there you go. But I like hidden things like that.
Yeah. So, what do you like about this show in general? If you watched the whole thing, you've watched a couple seasons.
Well, they've only
Sounds
got
like you're,
one season, 2 seasons out. I'm almost done with the first season. Right?
and you've watched it more than once, though.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, late at night too. I like the voice acting. I really do. Right. I really wish they had more characters with different voices. Dana Snyder, who does a lot of the voiceovers, right? Really great, talented guy. But when he's not using his acting voice, when he's in Your Pretty Face Goes to Hell, it's his normal voice, and I really do like it. He's also in Squidbillies too. If you've ever seen Squidbillies, right?
No.
That's a different show. Squidbillies it's about squids in the mountains, right? So, and they're a bunch of rednecks. And I'm pretty sure at some point anybody who's got people out there, they can recognize that. But for
I
me,
think that
go ahead.
it's funny. I think it's funny just because the characters are unbelievable or not relatable or only slightly relatable. Like nobody addresses the fact that there's a talking dog who's stoned all the time. It's pretty obvious that he's stoned all the time. It's pretty obvious that he's doing drugs out of the the drug lockup.
Well, how else is he going to know how to find them?
Yeah. Uh, Nobody addresses that fact. They just think it's normal. Uh, Nobody addresses the fact that Hobson continuously makes disgusting comments. Uh, they've got, which is funny, they've got a restraining order against Gina, or the what's his name's got a restraining order against
Yep.
her because she's always grabbing his bitch tits and honking his dick and all that other stuff. And
Foghorn and his Peter. Now that was a
yeah,
new saying for me when I heard that. I'm like, you've got that was a bit weird.
right. Which it doesn't address the fact that you've got this gigantic cop that I don't know why he would be on the force either. Good old Dusty there.
But
He's gigantic and can barely get in and out of a cop car, I'm sure.
but there are law enforcement officials that were that big back in the day, right? And a lot of law enforcement officials, some have anger issues because of the job, right? Let's not gloss this over, right? In some way, this is relatable to just about every law enforcement area out there, or they people know people like this in law enforcement, right? And it's
They know. I don't know that they know people as big as Dusty in law enforcement. There has
uh,
to be some sort of a standard. He's big.
as long
That's
as
I
they
mean
can
he's
meet the physical requirements, they can be
right, which he
big.
wouldn't be able to because he can't even see his feet.
Okay, okay. I mean, I've never had to look at my feet, but
You've never seen your feet. You don't know you don't have to look at your feet. I'm pretty sure
oh
you do because you get yelled at all the time if your feet are not in the right spot. So clearly you look at your feet.
yeah, yeah. You know, you called me out on that one. Yeah, you're right. In
Yeah.
fact, I could hear me getting yelled at now for that.
I just think it's funny that they've got that HR has a problem with the chick, but they don't have a problem with the old guy who's way more disgusting than she is.
But no one has turned him in, so you can't have a problem with something that they don't turn in.
Right, but they could turn him in if they wanted to. That's what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
right.
But they don't. So instead,
Yeah.
it's just good old Dusty who's got a problem with being sexually harassed by the hot chick, which I don't get that either. Like, well, if you're getting harassed, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you reciprocating on that? Because clearly you're not going to get anybody hotter than the
hmm
cartoon version of Sarah Chalk as a badass cop.
You are right. And what really gets me as you go along is when he's trying to raise money and he buys all the stuff for his animals, right? She's the one bidding on his virginity, right? And it turns out the cat wins. And, for whatever reason, you walk in, you're like, okay, he's going to go back to being just this crazy cat person. And you look at the cat with a whip and you're like, wow, that took a turn I did not expect.
Well, yeah, beyond the first episode, it gets way more warped. That's the
I,
thing.
I
You have to
agree.
watch the. If you make it through the first episode, then for some reason you might continue to watch. I don't know. It depends on what your mental state what your mental state is exactly. I actually don't know why I kept watching it.
I watched it
Honestly,
because it was interesting, right? I like animation too. I really do. If it's fluid and the dialogue rolls along the line, I like it, right? And I'll watch it. But if it's choppy and it looks crappy, right? The humor's got to hold me too. You put all three together, it's really good. So it
no, they
it
do some pretty. They do some. It's one of those shows that goes along, and then maybe there's a lull, and then all they do something. They'll do something that's completely off the wall. There's a scene where um, Kevin's mom, who's the mayor of the town, is having dinner with the dentist that she's dating,
yeah,
and his dad tear gases the place,
yep,
and the guy, the dentist, is like, "I'm not going to let this moment be ruined," and he's like, he gets down on a knee and proposes to her, and they're like throwing up, and you can see vomit, and her like makeup's running, and he's got snot everywhere, and they kiss each other, but they've got vomit all over their face. I'm like, wow, that's really I'm like, I don't know if
disgusting.
that's clever. I don't know if that's clever or if that's disgusting. But with me, the show it goes along. It has a certain tone to it or a certain rhythm to it, and then they'll break it up with some off the wall shit like that. Kind of like the scene with the dogs having sex, and then they all die from having the Argyle meth because it's got chocolate in it.
Oh no! He put that sticker on there so he wouldn't get blamed, right?
No, that's not
But
what happened.
yeah, that sticker wasn't on that bag when it was given out, right?
No, it was. That's what happened. He flipped it over when he saw all his friends were dead. That's why they're dead. The dog didn't put the sticker on there.
Oh, I thought he did.
That was the warning sticker that they didn't read. Because remember, he
Oh,
covered up the crime.
well,
He took
yeah.
all of them. He took all of them back to their homes, and then wrote suicide notes that were just paw prints. When that was funny too. And then they all had like a mass suicide. But no, that warning sticker was on there. They just didn't read it.
No, he found the sticker on the original scene. There is no sticker on the bag of the back. It's an empty bag, right? There is an empty bag. He's holding an empty bag. He throws it on the ground, and then during the suicide note, they find the bag and there's a sticker on the back. So he put that sticker on there to make look like all these dogs had committed suicide, and it had no
No,
tie
because they
back
never
there.
said that the dogs died from Argyle meth. They said that they
No,
killed themselves.
oh, you're right. You're right. But there was no sticker on the back because I
There's
can
no sticker on it because they didn't draw it on there because we would have seen it.
right. So that
The
means
dog didn't put the sticker on there.
I
It was
think the
already
dog
on there.
did. No, I think the
No, I
dog
don't think
did.
so.
I,
No.
I
Uh-uh.
do. I think he put it on there.
No, because he flipped it over and he read it and he's like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, but on the original bag there was no sticker on the
Of
back.
course there's not because oh my god. Okay, never mind.
Plus, he found a sticker. He said on the back of the bag. So I'm thinking. I said he put it on there.
I say he didn't, and you're like, no.
Okay, we can disagree. You're wrong. So
No, I'm right. You're wrong. I suggest you go watch it again. He didn't put the sticker
I
on it.
have it loaded right
Why
up
would he
here.
look at it? Why would he look at it and go, "Oh shit"?
Okay, I have it right here. I loaded it right up. Right.
Okay.
So here I have the scene where they're partying. Right. He
Uh-huh.
brings out the bag. I'll speed that up just about by 10 seconds. Right. Everybody empties the bag. And
Uh-huh.
you can clearly see through it that there is no sticker on that
Yeah, that
bag.
doesn't have anything to do. They do that in comics all the time.
Oh, are you saying it was there mentally? I should have drawn it there because it should be there?
No, you're not. You're missing my point. Go ahead, keep watching.
Okay, so he throws the bag on the ground, still no sticker. They're all dead, right?
Yeah.
The next scene is they come in. He's of course tired. He's all up there cleaning. Nope. He cleans up everything.
Uh,
So,
yeah.
and he says, plus I found this sticker on the back of the Argyle bag, right? So that indicates that he found something that wasn't there. Maybe I'm reading too much into it being just because I read it. I looked at it. So I think he put the bag there or the sticker on the bag anyway. But you're saying it was already there, so okay.
Yeah, just because it's not drawn on there.
It's implied that it's drawn on there.
Right, exactly. It's implied that they were all druggies and didn't look in the first place.
I see what you're saying.
And then when he sees that they're all dead, he's like, "What the fuck?" And then he sees that and he's like, "Oh shit."
But he doesn't see it until afterwards, right? And
Mm.
he didn't see, I don't know. I'm looking at a clear plastic bag. But then again, I don't do meth, so I don't know. So that's me.
Uh-huh.
So, but yeah, it's not a bad show. I really do like it. It's a little bit different. Let's see. I watched Family Guy, watched the entire series of Spawn. That was good on the HBO series. Superhero. I've seen The Simpsons more times than I care to remember. I guess I'm always looking for something fresh and new to watch. So if anybody can recommend anything other than what I've already seen, I'm willing to watch it. I was watching a one series that was on Sci-Fi, but they removed it called Tripping the Rift, which was pretty good. Had a lot of background Easter eggs in there about different what was it sci-fi shows. So if you got to watch that, that was pretty good. So any animation out there that and that is that's not anime, by the way, because anime is usually drawn in just about every same fashion.
Just so you know, I'm reading Paradise PD Wiki right now.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know
And
they had a
according to
wiki.
this,
Okay. Okay.
Um, Bullet claimed that it was completely unrelated to him or the Argyle meth. Claimed that the dogs were part of a cult, and that's why they all had
The
committed
suicide
suicide.
pact. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So it had nothing to do with the Argyle meth.
I know. He was just trying to getting to defer the blame, so he didn't get in trouble.
Uh, uh-huh.
Yeah, I completely understand where that's
Right,
coming
but he
from.
was saying, but if he, oh my gosh, if he put the sticker on the bag like you're saying, why would he say it was unrelated to the Argyle meth?
I didn't say it wasn't related to the Argyle meth.
No, you're not listening to what I'm saying. Why would Bullet claim that it's unrelated to the Argyle meth if he put the sticker on the bag?
Okay, I think we're reading too much into this, but okay. I think it's just to throw blame off of somebody else in case, or off of him if it came back to haunt him.
I think he didn't read the sticker. The sticker was already on there.
I'm saying
Anyway,
anyway.
all right. So this is what everybody should do. Everybody should watch that episode and let us know what they think because
Yeah.
clearly we've got a conflicting opinions on it. It's a
Well,
decent show.
yeah.
It's
If
you
you
just have to have a sixth sense of humor to enjoy the show.
yeah, if you watch it frame by frame, you can see where he's either right or he's either wrong, or I'm either right or wrong.
You don't even have to watch them frame by frame. You can just watch the show. It's not that hard to figure out. Just because they don't show the sticker on the bag when they're emptying it, that's not a cliffhanger for them to show it later on. They just didn't notice it. You're assuming that they're going to just draw it on there so everybody's like, I wonder what that sticker is on the bag.
Well, let's talk
It's
about
for them to bring it
continuity.
up later.
Well, it's sort of like
That's a mistake.
continuity, right? When you watch Rick and Morty, right, the one thing that they pride themselves on, for the most part, that I've seen is continuity. There's
Right,
a
but that isn't this type of show. That's not
yeah,
the type of show. They're not going for that. They're like, oh shit. And if he was stoned anyway, he might not have looked in the first place.
you're right, but you're gonna get some anal retention moron like me out there who's like, oh, that wasn't in that scene. Where did that sticker come from? All right, fair enough, right?
Huh,
So
true.
it is what it is. You can't go beyond that. It's sort of like the who invented the color blue.
Right.
Shout
All
out to
right. So
Ford.
I would say I recommend the show for people who are bored and have a sixth sense of humor and they got nothing else to do.
Okay, sounds good.
Other than that, I mean, it's all right. It's not. I wouldn't say it's up there with one of my favorite shows. It's got good voice acting in it, which I do enjoy.
What is one of your
But
favorite shows?
for animated shows,
Yeah.
um, probably the original Pokemon is pretty good.
Okay.
Um,
Wow, that's going back a
before
ways.
they changed the name, before they changed the voices,
Okay.
I like, of course, all the other Looney Tunes and stuff because those voices were kind of fun for you to try to imitate.
Mel
Cartoon
Blanc.
shows now, or animated shows now. Well, that's a tough one. Uh, I like Adventure Time. That
Okay.
one's pretty good. I like what's it called? Uh,
I don't know.
oh, the one that's got the blue jay and the little raccoon.
Oh, isn't that that's not Adventure Time, is it?
No, that's not Adventure Time.
Uh, Gumball?
No,
No, that's not Gumball.
no, no.
I've seen
Anyway,
it.
that one's pretty good. I can't. Too bad I can't remember the name of it right now. Everybody's probably screaming at the freaking show. It's the something show. Yeah, that's it.
You know who would know? Skylar would know.
Well,
He
yeah,
would. He
sure he
would
would.
know what that is.
Yeah, I'm sure, but I don't remember. I can't believe I can't remember what the
The
name of the
regular
show.
show
Yeah, regular show. I knew it was something
with
show.
Mordecai.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting. I like that one. And
Okay.
yeah, but that's about it. I mean, a lot of them are pretty amusing.
Let's
Obviously
see.
made for adults
Oh, definitely. Well, the
or
regular show
teenagers.
was made more for kids, but it's like a transition.
Yeah, it
Uh,
definitely has. Definitely has. Not saying dirty adult issues in it, but it has stuff that if you were watching that with your kid, I'm like, oh, I get that reference. Because a lot of the
okay.
stuff they do is you can tell that those people who wrote the show are probably like my age or maybe a little bit younger, maybe a little bit older.
I
And
think all
one of the
shows.
voice actors and one of the voice actors on that show is Mark Hamill.
Okay. Did he start anything you might have you could tell me to watch?
Are you kidding?
Yes, I am actually.
Like you must be kidding. Clearly, yes. Mark Hamill, Star Wars. Hello.
Oh, I thought you were going to mention the Joker
Also good. Still the best Joker voice in my opinion.
or the Trickster from The Flash.
Right. Yep.
Let's see. If one of the shows I really like, but I've watched just about every episode, is Futurama because it dealt with so many different things. I liked it
Yeah, that's a
because
good show. I like that show.
Futurama was good. Aqua Teen Hunger Force, right, is one of those surreal shows that when you watch, you don't get it, but when you do, it just makes sense, right? At least on some level. Uh, Archer is another good one. That's
Oh yeah,
acted.
Archer's really good.
Yeah, it's smartly acted.
That's
Uh,
very well drawn, very well
exactly.
developed plot line.
And
Mimics a lot of different plot lines because
and
Archer's a big fan of TV shows of the '80s.
uh, and the other thing is, what if James Bond was so inept that he was so cool about it? He's so arrogant, and I love everything about the background characters too. I
Yeah,
like Krieger. The doctor is he's that mad scientist, one short brain cell short of just trying to take over the world. And every time he tries to take over the world, it just doesn't work his way because something goes wrong.
yeah.
And Pam, the other main character, I love because she's this powerhouse. And Lana, once again, I like all the characters actually.
Yeah, the good characters, good character development in that show.
Definitely. What else? Family
But
Guy.
some of it, is I'm sure a lot of it is what can we throw together to make some money? Not saying that Paradise PD did that, but it's like, it's all right. It's not
Well,
bad.
it's got a lot of the same characters or same character development as the other show. And I think what Comedy Central did, or basically what these guys did, because they worked on Brickleberry, which didn't have the Comedy Central market like Netflix did to really expand like they would like to. If Brickleberry had gone to uh, Netflix, I think it would have gone well. But because it was Comedy Central and it's mainstream cable television, they really couldn't show some of the nudity or some of the crap that they could pull off.
It's hard to say because when you have a platform that has just endless content, it's hard to say, well, how do you promote something or how do they go about promoting something that so that people will watch it? That's what's interesting. I know that they use obviously algorithms to say, okay, this is what this person watches. Maybe they would be interested in this show, and that's how it goes. I don't know that there's been too many people in the United States right now during the quarantine that haven't seen the Tiger King, unless
I
they don't have
haven't.
unless they don't have Netflix. But it seems to be a lot of people watch that, which
Well,
actually is actually a pretty darn good show. I enjoyed it, but I already knew about the Tiger King from the last podcast guys. They've been talking about him for a long time.
well, I also think that Netflix and other platforms like that allow these guys to flex their creative muscles, whereas you got the mainstream. When I was growing up, you had three channels, right? Plus PBS. Then cable came along, and you could do so much more, but you were still at the FCC boundaries to a point, right? Or the common sense boundaries. Then these cable shows and YouTube came along, and guess what? Now you have unlimited creativity that you can do. And I think that's where we're at right now. Is I want to draw something out. The humor could be just anything I want it to be. It could be senseless, mindless, and offensive, right? Or it could be sensible, offensive humor. It could be anyway. But as long as you've got the budget for it, you can go with it. And that's where we're at right now. So a lot
Right.
of these
It's easy
shows,
to get the content. It's easy to get the content out there. It's just how easy is it to get people to watch the content?
I don't think that's too hard at all. You just have to be one of the first ones to get it out there, right? When Family Guy first came out, right? Simpsons was groundbreaking because it dealt with the kid who's a brat, and when you grow up with the Brady Bunch, the Partridge Family, and Gilligan's Island, that was all clean humor, right? To a point. There were some jokes underneath that only some adults got. Then The Simpsons came along, or I'll wait till your father gets home, which is another one. That's kind of an obscure older cartoon animation, but that dealt with issues, but it didn't last that long. Simpsons came along once again. dealt with a whole lot of issues, idiot workers, family that loves each other, bratty son, smart kids. That was great, but they could only take it so far as the plot lines go. They managed to stay on for so long. It's really great. Then you got Family Guy, who came up with that, right? Who took it one step further, right? Which was fantastic. Once again, the dialogue was great. And then Family Guy got canceled and then found a resurgence on another cable show, Adult Swim, and it took off again. Well, then, was it Seth MacFarlane said, "Hey, I've got this other show, right, called American Dad, right, which dealt with right-wing CIA, conservatism and all that, and just as crazy as can be, right?" And that took off. Then he tried to expand on surrealism and culture through humor with the Cleveland Show, and that failed miserably. But they absorbed the cast and the character back into the American Dad. Now we're back here. It's like, okay, we're now at this limit. Where can we go? Now, if you go on the internet, you can look at Seth MacFarlane's, I think it's called Cavalcade of Cartoons, and you can watch some of the shows that will probably, or some of his stuff that will never make it to air because of the content on the major networks. So that's where we're at right now, is what's our next medium to go beyond what we can watch. And I think that's where Netflix comes in, and now they can go along that. Look at Spawn with HBO. I mean, it's violent, it's bloody, yeah, there's a lot of nudity. It's sort of like the heavy metal of animation and superheroes. I thought it was fantastic, right? I watched all the episodes and I was screaming for more, but of course they canceled it, or it just died, ran its course. So
That's impressive, Ron. You
good.
just talked for probably 4 minutes straight. That's impressive. I'm not sure what about, but I was here. I was here with you. I'm not
Well,
sure.
animation is
What
one
was
of
the
my
question?
one
What was
of
the
my
question
things.
that I asked? I don't even remember. What was the question I asked? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't
I
know.
don't know. So thumbs up or thumbs down to Paradise PD?
A thumbs up. Thumbs up.
Yeah, I give it a thumbs up also, but you got to know your audience. And if you're easily offended and butt hurt, don't watch it. And if you have, don't let your children watch it for sure.
Doing this podcast remotely, I can't look at you. You can't look at me to tell me to shut up, or or you can't say this is why, right?
Yeah,
Because you don't. I can't read your face as much as I usually read it, and it sucks.
Well, I'm not sleeping, so at least that you don't hear me sleeping over it. But I did mute my mic, but I was listening. All right.
Yeah,
So this is our sort of
sort of.
breakdown of Paradise PD, and we'll just leave it at that. You want to watch it? Watch it. You don't want to watch it? Don't fucking watch it. But definitely listen to our podcast.
Yeah, listen to our podcast.
And you can contact us on Gmail at slaptailsquad@gmail.com. You can also check us out on our website, which is slaptailnation.com. And
Facebook. We got the Facebook going.
Send us an email, comment on our blog. If you're going to talk about a bunch of freaking political bullshit, please don't comment on our site.
That's our job.
We're here for fun. We're trying to have some fun, bring some levity. We're here to swear, give our opinions on shit. But honestly, it's not a political podcast. We don't want to be political. And so don't try to push your political ideals on us. And we're just not interested.
And if you do, we'll make fun of you.
Sure. Yeah, we'll probably do that.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah. All right. From me, the Beaveman, here at Slaptail Productions Studio, the Beaver Dam, the Beaver Den, the Beaver Lodge. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to say adios, mooch fuckos.
All right. Take care, guys. Be safe. Remember us.